Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome to Cowboys versus Packers recap. That was flat out embarrassing, man. Hold up. I'm trying to add somebody to the stage here. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Man, what the hell was that? Hold up. I got Brent from Football Logic hopping on here. Just got to get his devices right. We might have a Koye hopping in here. We'll see what happens with that. But man, look, overall, I mean, let's just get into it. This was an embarrassing game. Embarrassing performance from the Dallas Cowboys. They lose 48-32 to the Green Bay Packers. Quite frankly, like, I don't think I'm saying anything crazy when I say this. They're a more talented football team. You have 9 All-Pros on your football team. You were the second seed in the NFC playoffs for a reason. And the fact that they came into your building, somewhere that's supposed to be sacred ground for the Cowboys, somewhere where the Cowboys do not lose, and they came in your building and kicked your ass from start to finish. They made a little bit of a push there at the end. I don't really care because guess what? The Green Bay Packers were playing prevent defense. They were like, all right, throw for as many yards as you want to. We don't give a damn because they were going to win this football game. They knew that at the start of the third quarter that they were going to win this football game. And this goes from the start, right? You give their offense the ball first. Now, granted, they did win the coin toss and they elected to receive because they knew they were going to go in there and kick your ass from the very start to the very beginning. They knew that. They knew going into this game that they were going to win this game. And for them, they were right. They were right in that particular situation. So overall, like, look, Cowboys got to wear this. No doubt about it. This is a flat out disappointment for the Dallas Cowboys here. What say you, Brent?
Yeah, I'd agree with pretty much everything you said. I think number one, we looked unprepared. We looked like we didn't understand the moment. Dak didn't play very good. He played a little bit better in the second half. You can argue it's just because the Packers didn't. They're just trying to keep everything in front of him or whatever. But I think he played a little bit better in the second half. CD didn't look like himself. Pretty much nobody looked like themselves except for some reason Michael Gallup, which is weird to me. But offense didn't play good. Run game was iffy here and there. The defense is absolutely horrendous on everybody. Every single player. Dan Quinn looked unprepared, didn't look like what he was going to expect. Every time we play a Shanahan-type scheme, we get cooked. So, I mean, I don't know what to do going forward with the team in general, especially the coaching staff.
Yeah, no, 100%. There's going to have to be discussions for sure going forward here for the Cowboys. No doubt about it. You cannot lose a game in this fashion with the expectations that you have, with the new pieces that you acquired over the offseason, with Mike McCarthy sitting here saying, pretty much placing the blame on Kellen Moore for last season. I think he's kind of right in that, in blaming him. But at the same time, it's not necessarily like he helped the situation. As a matter of fact, the Cowboys, they regressed this year. And I looked at this team and I said, damn, look, they're playing really good football here this season. They have 9 All-Pros. They win the division. They handle their business in all those aspects. And then they come out in this game and they just flat out wet the bed from the start, just looked undisciplined. They looked like the youngest team to ever play a playoff game. It was them. Jordan Love looked like the 8-year veteran. But at the same time, it's very easy to look like a great quarterback when you have guys running wide ass open. I talked about this weeks ago and people didn't want to hear me out because we held the Dolphins to 22 points and the offense has to score more points. And this was on the offense. The Cowboys had a personnel usage problem. They're playing guys out of position. They're too light in the tail in the second level. For all the talent that you have, at defensive end with Fowler and Williams and all those guys, to not put Micah Parsons on the second level more, it's kind of ridiculous if you ask me. And look, this team's got to answer a lot of questions this year, like this offseason. There's no doubt about it. And Dan Quinn's got to be out. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Jerry Jones paid this guy head coach money. And for that defense to be put on Front Street the way it did, I mean, man, that was just That was incredible. Really. Incredible in a bad way.
Yeah, I agree. I think Dan Quinn is a definite. He's going to get fired. I don't think there's any other way around it. I can understand another year of McCarthy because of how good Dak played and how he gave Dak control and it made Dak look better and whatever. I wouldn't be surprised if both of them are gone, but I also wouldn't be surprised if it's just Dan Quinn. But if we somehow find a way to keep both of them, I don't exactly know what I would say about that. That would make no sense to me.
You want to know what? Here's my problem with keeping McCarthy. It's how do you lose football games with this team? Every single time it's now granted, defensively, that's on Dan Quinn, but it's not being able to stop the run and being undisciplined and flat out, like, they looked vanilla on offense. They ran that triple slant and the safety read it as soon as he saw, as soon as he saw it develop, jumped the route, took it back to the house. And here's the thing, like, the defense was terrible in this game, no doubt about it, but the bad interception on your side of the field, whether you want to say it was holding or pass interference, whatever it was, the fact, and this is another thing, the fact that the Green Bay Packers all year, they were second to last in interceptions, right? They were second to last in interceptions. And the fact that they had 2 of them on you today is mind-boggling. Like, Deron Bland had more interceptions this year than the Green Bay Packers. And they rolled up and they got 3 interceptions or 2 interceptions. Should have been 3. Let's keep it real. Like, I was talking about, like, on my TikTok recap that, the score was 48-32. But at the same time, Dak should have threw another interception there to Devondre Campbell. Luckily, it got tipped or whatever. But there's a very real possibility Dak could have threw 3 interceptions this game.
Yeah, on the first one, whether it's pass interference or not, I would argue that Brandon Cooks, as much as I wanted to believe he could be an amazing receiver too, there's probably a reason everybody was trading him. He's been to so many different teams. And at the same time, say you have a different guy out there, or a really good receiver too can probably fight through that contact, and you just didn't see it with Brandon Cooks right there. But I wouldn't necessarily blame that one on Dak. He's just trusting that his receiver is going to win one-on-one, and sometimes you got to do that. The second one, though, it looked like they were in some type of cover one, and that safety dropped down to a robber, and Dak pretty much just stared down CD and picked it off. Obviously, he's going to be more inclined to look at CD, the robber is, because we throw it to him all the time. But if you get what I'm saying, I think a big issue is our offense is just the weapons outside of CD, and there's no run game. Maybe if you had a run game in CD, it'd be great. Maybe if you had a receiver too and CD, it'd be great. But you don't have either a run game or a receiver too. So it's literally just Dak and CD carry us.
Yeah, and you want to know what, there's going to be a lot of people saying that the Cowboys should move on from Dak Prescott. That's not a solution. That's not a solution. I mean, you do not get a second-team All-Pro quarterback just showing up at your front door. You just don't. It's very rare that happens. There's only so many franchise quarterbacks in the NFL, and to move on from Dak Prescott, one, you're not going to be able to do it because he has a no trade clause and he's getting paid $60 million this year. 2, under the salary cap, you're probably not going to be able to keep guys like Micah and CD around with those type of contracts, with the type of contract that Dak Prescott is going to get, or with the type of cap hit that Dak Prescott is going to have this upcoming season. So I don't think moving on from Dak is going to be what they do. Whether or not you want them to move on from him or not, I don't think that would be the right idea there. But I mean, look, at the end of the day, I was saying this all week, right? There's got to be consequences, right? Like, if you lose this football game, you have 9 All-Pros. You're at home. You're the better football team. I mean, you won 12 games. They won 9 games. They won 4 games on the road. You won 8 at home. You haven't lost a home game since week 1 of 2022. At the end of the day, when a game like this happens, there has to be consequences. And it has to either be, usually it's either general manager, quarterback, or coach, one of those 3. And you're not going to fire the GM because that's the owner and the owner's son. You're not going to get rid of the quarterback because he has a $60 million cap hit this year, and it's very hard to find a quarterback that can play at the level that Dak can play at. And I'm not 100% putting this loss on Dak Prescott. It was just, the defense was terrible. And, this was the worst playoff run that you could have to underperform as a coach. With the coaching candidates out there, with a Vrabel and a Harbaugh and a Belichick, and even when you look at some of the coordinators like Ben Johnson and guys like that, Todd Monken from Baltimore, when you look at the candidates that are out there, this is the worst time to underperform as a coach. And there's no doubt about it. Like, you flat out underperformed.
Yeah, the issue, I like Mike McCarthy as a play caller decently. I think he folds under pressure a little bit every once in a while. But I think the biggest issue with him is just the culture. Like, there's no culture in our building. We come out unprepared. Even against Washington last week. Like, yeah, we ended up winning 38-10, but we get the ball and don't do anything with it. Or I don't remember what happened, but it ended up being a tie game somehow. Like, just coming out unprepared, and the penalties is a constant thing ever since we got McCarthy. We're first in penalties every single year. If you bring in a guy like Vrabel or Belichick or Harbaugh or any of those guys, I promise that stuff doesn't happen, and we'll come out prepared. Maybe you're not as cutting edge on the play calling. Maybe not, but I would take the DeMeco Ryans culture over that all day, every day.
And look, at the end of the day, right? This is why, we can dabble into this if you want to, because there's going to be a lot of people wondering this. If I think that Jerry Jones is probably going to hire Bill Belichick. I think that's what's going to happen here. Bill Belichick is a guy who has a tremendous amount of respect for how the Cowboys have built this team. Has a tremendous amount of respect for the quarterback. Jerry Jones, I'm sure that he's very fond of Bill Belichick, and he's the type of guy, he's going to come in here, and is he a player's coach? No, he's not. He's not a player's coach, but at the end of the day, guess what? I don't care if you're a player's coach at the end of the day, because if you're going and winning big games, let's just say, for example, they were, Belichick was their coach. They go to San Francisco and they win in San Francisco in week 5. You think they care if they're getting called out in the meetings? No, they don't, because they're winning football games and they're getting paid big money. At the end of the day, by somebody. Belichick is quick to move off somebody, but at the end of the day, you're either getting it from that organization or somebody else is going to pay you big money to go play for them. Because when you're associated with winning, guess what? Money comes your way because people want to win. And look, I get it. Everything going on with Belichick and the way the Patriots looked the past few seasons. I saw this guy coach rookie Mac Jones to get into the playoffs, so that to me is, I think that's the guy to keep your eye on, just because, whether we want it or not, the Jones family, they're going to be all over that situation if they decide to move on from Mike McCarthy, which they should.
I would be 100% fine with Bill Belichick. I cannot imagine what our defense would look like with a guy like genius like him calling the defense. Now, I will say, which I don't think will happen because Jerry and his son are they're making the calls in the draft. I will say I would not like to see him draft, especially on the offensive side of the ball, with his trying to take wide receivers and stuff and trying to always get a steal. I don't like that stuff, but I do. His defensive mind, he still has it 100%. That defense the Patriots had this year was top 10, and they lost just about everybody to injury. And even without the injuries, one of the less talented defense in the league. I can't imagine what he would do with Micah, D-Law, Diggs next year, Bland. Get rid of J-Ron. He would use Yonway like a maniac. Like he's a genius when it comes to the defensive side of the ball. And I think having a defense, taking a little bit more pressure off Dak. I don't know how you'd go about getting a play caller in there, but having a good defense just takes so much pressure off a quarterback. It doesn't make him have to go score 40 points to win a game.
And hey, here's the thing now, right? Belichick gets in there. Yeah, I think that when it comes to personnel, he would submit to, all right, you guys have put together a really good football team. I'm not going to be coaching forever, and look, Belichick wants to pass Shula, it is, for all-time wins. There's no better situation than Dallas. Seriously. Like, if Mike McCarthy is on the chopping block, there's no better situation than Dallas. You got a quarterback. You got a really good roster. You have a roster to win a Super Bowl. I know people aren't going to want to hear that right now, but like there aren't many better rosters in football than this, you know? So, man, look, like I'll tell you this. I think he would submit to Steven and Jerry, but I think that he would look at them dead in the eyes and say, I don't want no 205-pound safety playing linebacker. I want you to go get me a big motherfucker on the second level that can actually shed blocks and communicate on defense compared to what they already have.
Yeah, for sure. I would be fine with him helping draft the defensive side of the ball. My thing would just be the offensive side of the ball. I mean, he hit on a few guys early on in the Brady era. Like he hit on Brady, obviously, hit on guys like Julian Edelman, Chris Hogan, and guys like that. But I'd be fine with him sticking with the defense. I think he gets some steals in the draft on defense. And the way he uses guys is so much more creative than a lot of other guys. I think he would bring in a culture, not necessarily like he's just like I don't know if he'd bring in a culture necessarily like Vrabel because he's not a player's coach, but I do think he would have them ready and prepared for every game they play in. And I know for a fact that if we have Dan Quinn, that we don't have a great chance to win the Super Bowl because our two biggest threats for the next whatever years is going to be the Packers, obviously, and the 49ers with Shanahan. Both of those are Shanahan disciples that call those quarterback-friendly schemes with the motion, and Dan Quinn has proven year in and year out he has no answer to it.
Oh, yeah. You know, with this defensive talent, and that's the thing. That's why if they move on from McCarthy, it's going to be Belichick that comes in here. You know, the biggest brand in sports, the best coach of all time. You know, I mean, you follow the broader NFL more closely than I do. You know, I keep tabs and stuff like that, and I watch the games. But how many defenses from a talent perspective are as talented as this Cowboys defense?
I would say probably you could argue probably the Ravens, but I think it's close. You could argue the 49ers. I think we have more talent than the Eagles. On the NFC side, you could argue the 49ers for sure. And you could and on the AFC side, you could argue the Ravens, maybe. But I would put our defense up against the Ravens and be like, go position by position. I think our D-line's way better than the Ravens. Our issue, though, is the linebackers are so weak, and you see how the Ravens are able to use their linebackers, Roquan and Smith, that they have over there, and how much they change a game. I don't know why Dan Quinn is so hard-headed about not having true linebackers, but yeah, that's the only thing on the Ravens defense that I would take over as the linebackers, and sure, it probably makes a big difference. But our defensive talent stacks up with just about anybody, especially if Diggs is healthy.
Oh yeah. And especially, you know, with the Stephon Gilmore and you could play Deron Bland in the slot. You have the best cornerback trio in football. There's no doubt about it. You have really good safeties on this football team. And, you know, it drove me up a wall when I saw Donovan Wilson and Jaron Kearse as the deep safeties. They're not deep safeties. And this is, you know, I talked about it weeks. I think I already brought it up. I talked about it. Personnel usage is a problem for Dan Quinn. You know, like Marquise Bell. And look, this is what I will say. Even though I don't like him as a linebacker, Marquise Bell is a hell of a safety. He could be a hell of a safety. Just not, you know, he's not a linebacker though. And again, when you talk about bringing in potentially a defensive mind like Bill Belichick with a guy like Marquise Bell, young player with Wanye and man, yeah, you're 100% right. And, you know, everybody talks about all throughout social media and whatever it may be about how, you know, the Cowboys offense underperforms, you know, and McCarthy this and McCarthy that. McCarthy deserves a ton of smoke after this game. No doubt about it. Dan Quinn hasn't nearly gotten the amount of smoke that he deserves. I made sure to give him the smoke just because you just have too much talent on this defense. You have too much talent on this defense to get just flat out exploited by some of the opponents that you played against. Like, and this is kind of, you know, the Cowboys and we didn't want to admit it at the time. They kind of showed us who they were, right? Miami, the only winning team that they beat were the Cowboys. the Buffalo game should have told us a lot, but Hankins was out. So we were just like, you know, it is what it is. You know, some of the games that they played in this year where bad situational football, when you talk about, you know, that Seahawks game, probably should have lost that game. You know, the Lions game, even though that tripping call was BS by Hendershot, and I do believe if they don't call that, they probably still end up winning the game, but could have ended up losing that game because of bad clock management, you know, and it's just so frustrating because, you know, one of my problems that I had after that Cardinals game was that the Cowboys just come out and they play down to their competition, but they didn't do that this year. Like outside of this game, you know, outside of the Packers game and the Cardinals game, they didn't really play down to their competition, but you know, it was a problem that I had in years past, but like, that's great. You didn't play down to your competition, but you didn't really play up to your competition either. Like I still look at that Buffalo game and I go into it and I'm just like, okay, so this was the second least amount of motion that you used all season outside of San Fran. What happened in San Fran? Their offense was terrible. They couldn't move the football, just like in Buffalo. It's and penalties as well. You know, you talked about it. It's just the same thing with this team. How'd you beat them? McCarthy being uncreative as a play caller, the defense flat out folding, and penalties. That's those are the ways that you beat the Cowboys under Mike McCarthy.
Yeah, like a lot of people will forget about it, but early on in the game, what was it? I don't remember if the Packers had 7 or not yet, but it's 3rd and 5. D-Law, jump off sides. What are we doing, bro? Like, it's every big game there's some stupid penalty, like the Jaron Kearse offsides against the 49ers early on in the season. Like, look where you're lining up at. Like, he didn't even give a hard count. D-Law just kind of tried to guess the snap.
Yeah,
I don't understand penalties, man. Like, they shouldn't. If it's this consistent year in and year out, then it's obviously not just happening like unluckily. It's happening because of a coaching issue.
Oh yeah, exactly. Which is why ultimately, you know, they're probably going to end up moving on from. I think they do end up moving on from McCarthy. I don't, you know, Jason Garrett was a bit different because, you know, he was in house. So this was a guy that they looked at as like a Tom Landry type character. That's the way they looked at Jason Garrett. But, you know, Mike McCarthy's an outsider, and he went into Jerry Jones' office, I assume, and said, let me get this offense. And look, in some of the biggest games of the season, the offense fell flat. This isn't about beating the Rams. This isn't about beating the Commanders. This isn't about beating those teams. This is about beating San Fran. This is about beating, the Green Bay Packers. You could beat the Eagles. Congrats. Like, awesome. Do you want a cookie? You could beat the Eagles. And they're a good football team. Were a good football team. Not anymore. But do you want to just win 12 games and your players get a ton of stats and, you know, all pros and all this stuff? Oh, you know, have really good regular seasons and then do this in the postseason? No. So, you know, I think Dan Quinn's out of the door regardless. Like, I am just floored by, they made Jordan Love look incredible. And to be honest with you, I think there are a lot of quarterbacks that would have looked incredible today playing against that Cowboys defense and how poorly they were coached on that side of the ball.
Yeah, I think Jordan Love is good. I think he's a talented quarterback, but I also think that Matt LaFleur heavily outcoached Dan Quinn all day long. Even if we were down 27-7 at halftime, even if we go down, score a touchdown, it wouldn't have mattered because they're going to go score. It wouldn't have mattered. So, I agree with the offense falling flat for the majority of the big games we played in. San Fran, we scored 10 points. Another big game we played in, the Bills, we obviously played terrible. For some reason, the only team we can come out prepared and look like we want to play is the Eagles. Year in and year out, even if the Eagles are one of the best teams in the league, we find a way to come out and play good football against them. I don't know if it's just Dak has a chip on his shoulder when he plays them or what, but the whole team does. But besides that, we play a good team. Even the Dolphins, the offense was we were cooking in the first quarter. Dot and CD, he was going crazy. Mike McCarthy just totally goes away from it in the second, third quarter. Why? I couldn't answer. I couldn't answer that question.
And that's the thing, right? Another thing that I want to get off about Mike McCarthy potentially exiting this football team is that this offseason you're going to pay Dak. I mean, because you're just not going to be able to fit those big contracts under the cap that you're going to have to pay. Because I mean, CD, I know CD didn't play all that well today, but you're going to get rid of CD after that season? Hell no. Are you going to get rid of Micah? Hell no. So because of that, ultimately you're going to have to extend Dak Prescott. That's one. And again, it's very hard to find a quarterback as good as Dak Prescott. Like 30 years old. He's going to be 31 this upcoming year. So you're going to extend Dak. You're going to extend CD. You're going to extend Micah after this embarrassing loss, on top of keeping your head coach. Where's the accountability at that point? There's no accountability if that ends up happening, because, I mean, are you not going to extend Micah, CD, and Dak? Like, I don't know. Like, is there a world that they can even get away with signing those big contracts without, lowering that cap hit this year?
No, Dak's here to stay, and I'm fine with Dak being here to stay. Dak is easily a top 6 or 7 quarterback.
Oh, I can't hear you there, Brent. Might need to reconnect there, but no, like, what he was saying there, though, I do agree with him. Like, I don't think people. I'm gonna have to watch the All 22 and really look into the type of plays that they were calling, and what they decided to do scheme wise. Brent, can you hear me? Okay, here we go. I'm gonna have to look into the All 22 because Greg Olsen was talking about it on the broadcast where it was almost like there was nothing there in a lot of these instances. And I don't necessarily think that Dak had great protection in a lot of these, on a lot of these plays. But, look, I'll hold Dak accountable. I mean, I expect more from the guy. Brent, what were you going to say there?
I was saying there's no way that we get rid of Dak. The cap hit is too much. He's a top 6, 7 quarterback in the league. Unless you want to find a way to trade up to a top 10 pick and get Caleb Williams or Drake May, I don't think there's any reason to move off of Dak. Jerry Jones is never going to give away draft picks to do that, so don't expect him to do that. And secondly, unless you're getting Drake May or Caleb Williams, there is no quarterback in the draft that's going to come in and be better than Dak, probably in their career. So I don't understand that. Unless you're going to trade for a quarterback, which isn't – no one's giving up a good quarterback on the trade market.
None. Yeah, I mean, look, there's going to be a lot of people talking about Trey Lance. Look, here's the thing.
Please, no.
You have this roster right here in front of you. Roster construction. Now, I do think they need to, tighten some loose screws on this roster when it comes to, I think they got to improve their offensive line. I think that, ultimately they do need to add more linebackers. I mean, the DeMarvion Overshown injury sucked because, man, he looked like everything we needed on this defense in that preseason, no doubt about it. But, I think they need to tighten some screws here. I think they probably need to go get a number 2 receiver. I mean, look, I'd be up. I'll tell you this right now. I'd be all for trading up in the draft and going and getting Rome Odunze from Washington. I can tell you that. But, I think that there's ultimately, it's not a complete roster, but at the same time, it's still one of the best in the NFL. How much talent do you need? You got to get past the first round. I mean, no doubt about it. Like, if you would have lost in the divisional, I mean, fine, I guess. But again, you're not moving forward. And ultimately, like, this loss sucks at the end of the day. And I'm not trying to put a lipstick on a pig. I'm not trying to do that. But for it to be this bad should bring the change that we need. Because, like I said, there's going to be no accountability if you decide to keep your head coach. Dan Quinn's probably going to get a head coaching job. Even now, look, Carolina will hire Dan Quinn. Carolina's interviewing Kellen Moore and Brian Johnson. Are you telling me that they're going to pass up on Dan Quinn? It's not going to happen. So he'll go on. He'll be a head coach. He'll get promoted. And if you keep Mike McCarthy, then guess what? He keeps his job. There's no accountability whatsoever. Everybody gets paid, and the coaches, the defensive coordinator gets promoted, and the head coach keeps his job.
With how the coaching cycle is going right now, and all these great coaches that are looking for jobs, Dan Quinn's best opportunity might only be Carolina, if I'm going to be completely honest. You're not taking Dan Quinn over Vrabel, Belichick, Ben Johnson even. I mean, you can make an argument for Eric Bieniemy over Dan Quinn at this point with the way he's had our defense. I mean, yeah, I understand our defense is a lot better since he's gotten here, but we've also gotten a lot better players since he's gotten here. So, yeah. I mean, you can argue that he's helped with the drafting of them. But at the same time, like, when we get in these big games against these same style of offenses, even when we played the Seahawks, obviously they're not a Shanahan-type team, but they saw on tape when they used a lot of motion, they get guys moving around. Our defense is lost, don't know what to do. They look unprepared.
And, hey, look, man, people can say what they want about Belichick. He's washed up. He's this, he's that, and the third. I saw that guy with, not as much, not that great of talent on the Patriots defense. Their defense is nowhere near as talented as Dallas. And they were weren't they like a top 10 defense this year or something crazy like that? Like points per game. Weren't they in like the top 10 or something like that? I mean, I'd have to go double check, but I saw this guy neutralize the Dolphins defense at the beginning of the season with not even half the talent that the Cowboys defense has.
Yeah, I think they were top 10.
I'm going to double check that. They were 14th.
Top half.
Yeah, they were 14th. But I mean, look at the talent on that roster. I mean, the
best player got hurt. Christian Gonzalez got hurt. Matthew Judon wasn't there for the majority of the season. Those are their two best players. I mean, what do you want him to do with nobody on the team?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, 100%. No doubt about it. I mean, but so like when we look at, let's get more into Dak Prescott here. Again, it's not, for anybody in the chat, it's not the right move to move on from him. It's going to be hard to replace him. I mean, look at some of these teams, right? Even look in your division. When was the last time Washington had a franchise quarterback? When was the last time New York had a franchise quarterback? Philly even. I mean, let's be honest here. I mean, Jalen Hurts he's been average this year. He was average his rookie year. He had a great year last year, but they're still wondering if he's like the franchise guy over there. You go down to, you look at the Raiders. When was the last time they had, I mean, Derek Carr, I guess, but Derek Carr, I mean, it's very hard to find that, but I think that this game, I just think back to it. I don't like the decision on the triple slants there, but I also don't like the play design at all. The Cooks one, I really do think that was holding on Alexander, but regardless, it was an interception. It was a really nice play by Alexander. If we're keeping it real, and I just look at what happened in this game, and I'm just like, how much do you want Dak to do when his defense gives up all that? I mean, did they even punt this game? Did the Packers, one time they punted?
Sean Clifford, when he came in, they punted. And when Jordan Love on that last play threw to the tight end wide open and he dropped it, they punted. That's it. The second drive.
So they punted 2 times.
Yeah, 2. 3 at the max.
That's
and
insane.
One of them was Sean Clifford. So, I mean, what do you want to – you want to praise Dan Quinn for stopping Sean Clifford?
Yeah, that's insane. And look, it's just, when you think about it, it's like, how much was Dak going to do? Not saying that he doesn't deserve accountability for this game. He does. He was not good in this game. And the yards and all that, they're gonna tell a false story, and but I mean, we all watched the game. We understood what happened. I don't like the way CeeDee Lamb looked in this game when things weren't going his way. His shoulders got down, and Like, man, you're a top 3 receiver in football this year. You can't act like that. When shit isn't going your way, you go up to your quarterback, pat yourself on the chest. Yo, I'm here. I'm going to be open all day. You know, that's alpha receiver. You think Des Bryant would have done that if things aren't going his way? If you would have had Des Bryant's mentality, the way he, took on the game and the way he believed in himself, the way that, he just wanted it more than everybody else on the field, and you put CeeDee Lamb's talent with those two, you have the perfect receiver. You have the perfect receiver at that point.
Yeah, I agree. The drops early on, and then he walked over to the sideline looking down on himself. I mean, kind of looked like the same thing whenever we played the 49ers, and he was just standing over there by himself. I'd rather him get in somebody's face and be like, throw me the ball, than just act like a crybaby.
I do not care about him going over to Dak and yelling at Dak. I don't care what people have to say about it. I just don't. Because at the end of the day, great, you're going to go up to Dak after this game. Hey, you should have got me the ball here. You should have got me the ball there. It doesn't matter. You don't have a game next week.
Yeah, exactly. That's why you got to do it in the game.
You don't have a game next week, so it doesn't matter. And some comments that I like here. What's going to happen with Cooks and Gilmore? I think they're going to try and find a way to keep both of those guys, depending on the salary that they're asking for. Even though Cooks is still under contract for next year,
Cooks
so they know.
Yeah.
Gilmore is one that they're going to have to look at. Let's build around Micah, CeeDee, Lamb, and Ferg. Dak's got to be in there. It's Dak, Micah, CeeDee, Lamb, Ferg, because at the end of the day, that's great. Those are some really good pieces that you have to build around. If you don't have somebody throwing them the ball, and look, I mean, people are going to run with it, and for the moment, you got to take the L on this. Dak looks like he's a playoff choker. I mean, that's just what people are going to say. And is it fair? I mean, I'm not going to argue with them on it. I mean, again, I don't necessarily like a lot of the stuff that McCarthy did this game, but I mean, they're going to be able to get off on that.
Yeah, for sure. I would say, I mean, the narratives are going to be, I'm going to tell you one thing. I'm not watching anything anywhere.
Hell no.
This week.
Hell no.
I'm going to keep riding for
that.
no. But, yeah, I mean, he didn't play good today, and all you're going to hear on Twitter and the media is 2 picks, 2 picks, 2 picks. He's not clutch, terrible in the playoffs. So, I mean, not really a point in watching it. You already know what you're going to see. He's going to be here next year. He's probably going to have another great season like he does every year. He's just got to – I mean, I'm not going to sit up here and act like he's Lamar or Patrick Mahomes and can carry us to a victory no matter what. But I do think if you can draft a receiver 2 this year, get somebody who can stop somebody, and I think we have a great chance.
Yeah, and ultimately, when we talk about like who deserves the most blame in this game, I'm giving it to the defense. The defense deserves the most blame. You lost this game. If you're making me blame a particular unit, give a majority of the blame, it's the defense. The defense went out there and looked like they had no interest in playing today. And, I mean, look, it's just so crazy to me that people were afraid to, go after Dan Quinn and hold him accountable for certain things. But guess what? He deserves to get held accountable.
Yeah, what I would say is when you look back at the season overall, is there ever a time where the defense bailed Dak out, or is it always the offense and Dak bailing the defense out? Like the Seahawks game, 35 points scored, Dak scores 41, et cetera, et cetera. There's not very many times I can remember where the defense is just – maybe you could say the Chargers game, maybe. That's about it. When the defense needs to stop in Miami, straight down the field like Swiss cheese.
Oh, dude, 100%. Yeah, I would sit here and say that, I would sit here and tell you that ultimately, the defense, like there was a narrative at the beginning of the year that the defense was going to have to win the Cowboys games, and it just wasn't the case. And a lot of these situations, it was the offense that kind of pulled them out of certain ruts. And, the offense also, let's keep it real. They put a bunch of points on the board, which allowed the defense to play to the strength of their defense. And, that saved the defense in a lot of ways because, when a team wanted to come out here and say, hey, we're going to run the football, guess what? They ran the football effectively. There's a difference between, stopping a team running the football because your offense is putting up so many damn points and stopping a team from running the football when you're in a close game and they say, hey, we're going to commit to the run. Because let's be honest here, Green Bay was not interested in putting that ball in Jordan Love's hands and, dropping back and pushing the football down the field. That's not what they were interested in doing. They were interested in, all right, we're going to build off our play action. And they ran that play action and they were just, man, they were money with it.
Yeah, this is what I'll say overall, and then I'll go. As far as the defense goes, I think please do not sign Jaron Kearse back. Like him as a guy, not so much as a player. I think his time in Dallas should be done.
Oh, yeah.
I think Diggs back, Overshown back. If we do decide to get rid of McCarthy, and we sign Bill Belichick, draft a receiver 2 in the first round is what I'd say going forward. And I'd also say try to focus on getting some type of big linebacker in there that Bill thinks could make a difference on defense. I think Marquise Bell at the safety position and Yonway mixed in with Malik Hooker could be crazy. I think it'd be really good for us. Then I think Diggs, Gilmore, if we sign Gilmore back, Diggs, Gilmore, and Bland would be a pretty solid trio as well.
Yeah, 100%. Yo, Brent, I appreciate you for coming on, bro. We got to do this again sometime.
Yes, sir. Sounds good. I'll catch you in the next one.
All right, my guy. All right, let's talk about it, guys, because I got food coming at 9:15. So we will talk until about 9:12. That's Eastern Standard Time, by the way. So here's the thing. I know this sucks. This sucks ass, man. But if you are going to lose in the playoffs, I think that this is the best way it could have happened. And here's the reason why I say that. Okay. If you would have went to the divisional round and you would have lost a close game in the divisional round, guess what? You still don't break that curse that you've been under for God knows how long. And Mike McCarthy keeps his job. And Dan Quinn, maybe he ends up going and coaching somewhere else, but maybe Jerry Jones says, hey, whatever they're offering you, I'll make sure to offer you some more money. At this point, change is going to happen. And change is, I'm going to be honest with you guys, change is necessary within this football team because we tried this players coach. You're doing great, guys. Everybody loves Dan Quinn. Everybody loves Mike McCarthy. I don't want a coach that everybody loves. I'm going to be honest with you. Sorry. If you would have went out there, performed, and got to the NFC Championship, got to the Super Bowl, won a Super Bowl, then we'd be keeping these guys that are happy-go-lucky guys because that's what Mike McCarthy and Dan Quinn are. That's what players describe them as, players coaches. I'm telling you this right now. A player's coach is hiding other things up. They're hiding inadequacies up. Okay? Remember that. Remember that. They are nice because they want people to forget about some of their shortcomings in their job. I want you guys to remember that. Because guess what? A player does not give a damn if you're coaching them hard. They're winning football games and making money. Because at the end of the day, what is this about? It's about winning football games. Let me break this down to the core of what I'm saying. Follow the system. You implement a really good system. A coach like Belichick comes in there, implements a really good system. Hey, you follow this system, we're going to win football games. You want to know what happens when you win football games? You get paid, you get fame, and you get pussy. That connects with players. And guess what? They're going to buy in because at the end of the day, that's what everybody wants. That's what everybody wants at the end of the day. And you're not getting that with Mike McCarthy. You're getting penalties and, again, it's just every time we're in one of these spots, it's he clinches up as a play caller. It's like, dude, you're a better football team than this team. I don't think I'm crazy for saying that you're a better football team than Green Bay. You didn't act like it. So ultimately on this day, Green Bay was way better than you. Green Bay was way better than you on this day. But they're not the one with 9 All-Pros. They're not the one that won 12 games. They came into your building for a reason because they were the 7th seed. And by the way, guys, first team to ever lose to a 7th seed. First team to ever lose to a 7th seed. So to all the people, you got to stick with McCarthy, status quo. No, somebody's got to be held accountable or the same shit's going to happen. The same shit's going to happen. He's not capable. Okay? Do you think Mike McCarthy wanted to go out there and lose this game in the fashion that they lost it, or just in general? Do you think he wanted to do this? No. But when you're not capable of doing your job at a high level, these things happen. And that's what Mike McCarthy is not capable of doing. He's not capable of this. He's not capable of winning games in big spots. Congratulations, you won a Super Bowl. What's it, in 2011? It's 2024, bro. You're still living off that? 13 years ago, you won a Super Bowl. There you go. There's your round of applause. What's that stuff that you said? 77 men stood in front of me. Okay, congrats. What have you done for me lately? You were supposed to... Look, Jason Garrett gave you everything that Mike McCarthy's giving you. Outside of consistently winning 12 games, he has been a slight upgrade to Jason Garrett. Round of applause. You are an upgrade to Jason Garrett. Not hard to do. Jason Garrett sucked. It's not that he sucked. He was, I'm sorry, I'm being a little emotional when I say that. Jason Garrett was a below average coach. So great. You were a slight upgrade to Jason Garrett. You won a bunch of regular season games. When was the last time you won a regular season game outside of the Lions, right? Where it was a big game. You weren't favored to win that football game because let's be honest here. Dallas was favored to beat Detroit. You could have beat Buffalo. You could have beat Buffalo. But guess what? You came out there and you were a poorly coached football team. You could have at least been competitive with San Francisco, but you're not a well-coached football team. You're just not. At the end of the day, penalties. And a lot of it does come from the defense. So I'm not letting Dan Quinn off the hook. Dan Quinn, to me, has been somebody that I've been looking at sideways for a long time. Inability to adjust. Did he make any adjustments today? I mean, I'd have to watch all 22 to be able to tell you that. Didn't look like he made any adjustments. Easy as hell. And you want to know what's going to happen? Green Bay is going to go into San Fran next week, and San Fran is going to kick their ass. I'm seeing Go Pack Go. Hey, congratulations to you guys on your win. Seriously. And hey, guess what? If Green Bay goes in there and gets their ass kicked by San Francisco, those fans are going to be, sweet. We weren't supposed to be here in the first place. But San Francisco is a really good football team. And they're going to show you why you don't play with your food. Why you come out there and you're prepared. I thought that this team was different. I thought that they were a different football team. Devin, I appreciate you being a good sport, my friend. I really do. Good game to you guys. You don't got to say good game to us because we didn't play a good game. I do appreciate you being a good sport, though. I appreciate that. Absolutely. Good game to you guys. You don't need to say it back for respect. We played like shit. Scored not indicative of how much of an ass kicking this was. Dak put up great stats, though. Isn't that great? Dak put up great stats. I guess, you got to give him another year in this offense. This was Mike McCarthy's first season in this offense. Appreciate that, Devin. This was Mike McCarthy's first year calling the offense. I don't give a damn. I don't care. I don't care if this was his first year. McCarthy is not a fucking coach, man. He's just a soft supporter players coach. Players coaches cover up for inadequacies. That's what happens. And yeah, you get an Andy Reid. Here's the thing. Let me let you guys in on something, right? Andy Reid's got those Super Bowls because of Patrick Mahomes. Let's be honest here. Everybody looks at, because we can go back, right? You got Andy Reid, Sean McVay. There's exceptions to every rule, right? He's a players coach. That's how people look at Sean McVay. He's a players coach. But, there's exceptions to every rule. So, you have a McVay that's an exception to the rule. You have let's go through the Super Bowl winning coaches. You got Reid, you got McVay, you have Reid. Bruce Arians. Bruce Arians wasn't a players coach. Bruce Arians, I think, I'm right. Bruce Arians wasn't no players coach. You kidding me? Ask Antonio Brown if Bruce Arians was a players coach. You want to know what Bruce Arians told him? Hey, you better be ready to play week 18. We're not resting starters. No, I don't think that's a great idea. I'm going to be honest with you. But, you go back year before that, Andy Reid. Again, I'm going to let you guys in on a secret. He won those Super Bowls because of Patrick Mahomes. He was in Philadelphia. They had good teams, but he didn't have that elite superstar quarterback. It was also partially on Dak, man. He just doesn't show up in the playoffs. I made sure to bring that up. I brought that up. Look, people are going to call Dak a playoff choker. Got to wear it. He's got to prove them wrong. Ultimately, he's got to prove them the fuck wrong. And he didn't tonight. Flat out, he didn't. I agree. I made sure to give Dak his blame. But okay, so you go 2019 was what's his name? Reid. 2018, 2020. That was 2020 was Reid. 2019, Belichick. He ain't a players coach. 2018 was Doug Peterson. Yeah, you could call him a players coach. 2017, Bill Belichick wasn't a players coach. 2016, I think that was John Fox or something like that. Who was the Broncos coach back then? Was it John Fox? But you get what I'm saying. Players coaches, a lot of the times they're hiding things that they're not good at. This was our chance, 2 home playoff games. Absolutely. But hey, look, if you were going to lose, it's better off that you lost like this. Because when you lose in a fashion like this, change happens. Because if you get to the divisional round and you have a great game against the Lions, who the hell cares? Guess what happens? Nothing. Nothing happens. No changes happen at that point. So if they were going to lose, that's why I'm ultimately not throwing stuff at the TV. That's why I'm not super upset. I'm not upset because change is on the way. And when something like this happens, change happens. Or at least you think it happens. Because again, like I told Brent, what's going to happen this offseason? Dak's going to get paid. CD's going to get paid. Mike is going to get paid. Dan Quinn's probably going to get promoted. He's going to go take a head coaching job somewhere else because, or if he doesn't get a head coaching job, he's going to keep his job. And he's probably going to continue to make a ton of money as this defensive coordinator when he doesn't deserve it, flat out. And McCarthy keeps his job as well. Where's the accountability there? You get your ass killed and there's no accountability whatsoever. It's the Cowboys way. If they do decide to keep Mike McCarthy, which it wouldn't surprise me if that happened. And you want to know what? I'd go into next season and I would be the most pessimistic fan for the entirety of the season. They're not going to win because they have Mike McCarthy. I didn't think that going into this season. I wanted to give Mike McCarthy a chance. I did give Mike McCarthy a chance. I gave him a chance. Sorry. You showed your true colors. Man. Yeah, I agree. This was needed very much. We desperately needed change, and nothing was going to happen. Nothing was going to change if we had another mediocre NFC Championship run. Yeah, look, I think change is going to happen, and if it doesn't, again, quarterback paid, wide receiver paid, edge rusher paid, and by the way, guys, I want you guys to understand this. These guys are going to get top of the market money. Dak's going to be the highest paid quarterback. CeeDee Lamb's going to be the highest paid receiver. Micah Parsons is going to be the highest paid defensive player of all time. Dan Quinn, if he stays with this football team, he's going to be the highest paid defensive coordinator in the league. Keep Mike McCarthy. Where's the accountability? Where's the accountability? And next year is Mike McCarthy's last year on his contract. So if you were to let go of him, it's if you were to let go of him this year, it's not going to be a situation like Frank Reich to where you're paying this guy boatloads of money for the upcoming years. It's not going to happen like that. So, I mean, look, I just don't know how the Cowboys can sit with themselves. And let's be honest here, guys. This goes back to the offseason last year. They made some nice additions, no doubt about it. Cooks, Gilmore, great additions. But it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough. Going into the season last year with 3 linebackers is insane. And you saw when teams wanted to run the football on you, what did they do? They ran the football. Don't have guys that can come down from the second level and make plays consistently. Playing guys out of position, not getting certain guys certain reps. Donovan Wilson and Jaron Kearse as deep safeties, that's not their role. That's not their role. They don't play like that. Those guys are more so box safety type of guys. Jaron Kearse, I don't even know what the hell Jaron Kearse is now. Not very good. I'm going to be honest with you. He's very good at clapping back on people at Twitter, though. That's what he's really good at doing. He's good at clapping back on people on Twitter. So, hey, salute to you on that. What happens to Zach and Tyron Smith, by the way? What happens there? You better hope those guys don't retire. Oh, you better hope those guys don't retire. You remember when everybody was going after Tyron Smith? We can move on from him. We're good. This, that. You better hope Tyron Smith doesn't retire. Better hope Zach doesn't retire. Because you're probably going to lose Biotic. Terrence Steele's not good. Better hope those two don't retire. They're going to save your ass if they don't retire. So I don't want to hear any of this throughout the offseason. Tyron Smith misses games. Get a good backup left tackle then and stop bitching about it. Because when he's on the field, he's one of the best in the league. Get a good backup left tackle and you'll be fine. Ridiculous, man. All offseason. Get rid of Tyron. Why are we keeping Tyron? You're lucky Tyron Smith was on this football team. Ridiculous. How can we afford that? Teams afford big contracts all the time. Just got to find a way to crunch the numbers. That's just ultimately what you have to do. But guys, it's been real. I just want to appreciate you guys for the season, all the people that came and supported me from TikTok. Appreciate all you guys at the end of the day. And guys, understand this. I should have said this at the beginning of the live. There are more important things than life than football. Understand that, right? It sucks. Your team lost. I get it. You're going to hear it from people. It is what it is at the end of the day. You woke up with your eyes open. Is everybody that you love in your life okay? Are they healthy? Because let's just say if somebody watching this, somebody in their family is dealing with something, then I'm sorry for that. That is a bigger issue than what just happened today. You wake up with your 2 eyes every single day. Your family and the people you care about are healthy. You win every day. You never have a bad day. This is not a bad day if those things happen. Your team lost. It sucked. There's nothing that you could do to change that. Nothing. You didn't do anything wrong. You weren't on that field. You weren't on that sidelines coaching them. So, I do want people to understand that you're going to hear it from people. It is what it is. At the end of the day, in the back of your mind, you gotta understand. You woke up, your eyes opened. Everybody in your life's okay. You're okay. You had a great day at that point. I had a great day today. Seriously. I don't care if the Cowboys lose at the end of the day. If the worst thing that happens in my day is that the Cowboys lose, I had a damn good day. We're not one of the players. Like when Tony Romo went out there and said, well, if the worst thing that happens to me is losing in the playoffs and I had a pretty good life. Yeah, well, no shit, obviously. But at the end of the day, the fans don't want to hear that. Okay, because at the end of the day, it is your profession, right? Like if I'm in my profession and I screw up royally in my line of work, then that's really bad. Because again, that's going to potentially affect my ability to earn. But still, I'm going to go to work Tuesday, clock in, do my job, get paid the same amount of money that I get paid, go to the gym, do all this stuff. Nothing changes in my life other than the fact that I don't have to watch football next week for the Dallas Cowboys. And if at the end of the day, those things hold true with you guys, you had a great day. So, hey, look, I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. And I will see you guys in the next one. Draft content coming soon.